Hello, my name is Dennis Hohengasser, a volunteer with AARP Massachusetts. Thank you for joining this presentation today. This is one in a four-part series to help you gain scam prevention tips that will help you shield yourself, your young adult children, and your teenage grandchildren from danger. So this presentation is on the grandparent scheme. The other presentations are protecting your grandchildren from student loan scams, protecting children and grandchildren from job search scams, and protecting children and grandchildren from identity theft. Let's get started. First thing to remember is that the goal of all criminals is to gain your confidence in order to get your money or to get your personal information, which leads to getting your money. In this presentation, we're going to talk about a couple of things. One, how to avoid being victimized by this scam, the role grandparents play with their grandchildren in protecting them, how this grandparent scam works, some warning signs, and then some scam prevention do's and don'ts. And then we have some resources that are available. AARP has put a lot of time and effort into developing this thing called the Fraud Watch Network and to develop these presentations. We believe that awareness, information, and education is the first line of defense in keeping everybody safe. Because if you know about a specific scam, you are 80% less likely to engage with the scammer. And if you do engage, you're 40% less likely to be victimized. Again, awareness, information, and education is key. The role that grandparents play is crucial in the roles of their grandchildren. When asked who they trust most, these same teens and 20-somethings say their parents and their grandparents. So when it comes to informing them and keeping them safe from scams, we have to take the bait. We have to guide them through a very treacherous landscape of modern fraud. Most of it is digital. When we were growing up, most of it was not digital. It was people knocking at your door, getting email, getting snail mail from folks, and those are the things, or getting mail of one sort or another. That's what we had to deal with. Now it is a completely different landscape. As we go through today's presentation, I'm going to mention something a couple of times. It has to do with how scammers trick us. Why are they so successful at taking our money or getting our personal information? When AARP put this program together, they went into prisons and they talked to people who were in jail for just doing that, scamming people. And they asked them the same question: why are you so successful? And they all answered the same way. You have to get them under the ether. You need to get people in a heightened emotional state. So they're not thinking logically, they're thinking emotionally. I became a victim a number of years ago. And I understand fully how this under the ether works. It had to do with my PC. It looked like there was a problem with it, and I was going to start to lose files. It looked like it was a Windows problem. So I went online and Googled Microsoft Tech Support and pressed enter. And what came up was a phone number. And I dialed it. And guess who it wasn't? It wasn't Microsoft. And we'll talk about when we Google things, what we should look for a little bit later in the presentation. But I was under the ether. I was in a heightened emotional state. I was afraid I was going to lose some information. And it sounded like these people were just who I needed to solve my problem. I did something you should never do. I gave them access to my PC. They went in and they loaded a piece of software that was going to solve the problem. Well, there was no problem to start with. And it took a friend of mine hours and hours and hours to get this software off. So my under the ether was fear of losing information off my laptop. Other kinds of fear: that you're going to go to jail because you didn't show up for jury duty. Your electricity is going to be cut off because you didn't pay your bill. It can be not just fear, but elation. Congratulations, you've won money. And what we're going to talk today about this one called we've kidnapped your grandchild. So scammers prey on emotional vulnerability, oftentimes fear, elation. We hear now the fires in Hawaii. We hear all the hurricanes that are coming through, the tornadoes, and there's always our hearts go out to these folks, and we sometimes want to donate money. So they prey on our empathy, and these scammers are right, keep up with the news. They know what's going on with the news, and they know how to twist their scams to meet whatever's happening. So let's look at this, how this grandparents scam works. First of all, the victim grandparent gets a call from someone posing to be his or her grandchild. And it doesn't always have to be a grandchild. It could be what we call a relative in distress. I've seen examples where an aunt or an uncle gets a call from their nephew who is in the service overseas and has run into some kind of problem. So, and you may get the notification in a number of different ways. One could be email. It could be a text message. It could be through your social media account. But oftentimes it is through the phone. And they play on our emotional vulnerability. They are in a frantic state to get us in a frantic state. And the scammer explains that I'm your grandchild and I'm in trouble. There's been an accident or there's been an arrest. I'm in the hospital. There's been a robbery. They will come up with any number of situations that would put your grandchild in jeopardy. And they up the drama by urgency, that you've got to do it now. Yeah, I need the help now, Graham or Grandpa. They could be, again, hospitalized, stuck in a foreign country. That's oftentimes where it's coming from. I'm at my friend's wedding or this party, and I went I'm down in Mexico or I'm down in Bolivia, and they don't know I'm away from home, and they didn't think I could afford it. Don't tell them. And the call oftentimes will come later at night, because scammers can figure out that older people can get more confused later in the evening. And especially if it gets you out of a sound sleep, you're trying to get awake and figure out what's going on. And you can get very confused. So the imposters throw some particular information relative to the grandchild, to the family, or to the situation. And where do they get this information from? Well, like I said, most younger people live a lot of their lives online. It could be through TikTok, it could be through Instagram, it could be through Facebook, and there are a number of other social media platforms that they could get on and find this information. The other place they might find information is right from an obituary. That might be where they start gathering information. Think about when someone publishes an obituary. We have the name, the date of death, the date of birth of the loved one, the spouse's name and maiden name if appropriate, their siblings, their grandchildren, oftentimes where they live. It's a virtual buffet of information for scammers. And they offer just enough detail to make the whole thing seem plausible. We've seen where you get a call, and I was in an accident, and this woman the car that I hit, she was pregnant, she's in the hospital, they don't know if the baby's going to live. They will spin innumerable different types of stories. The one thing that is kind of given us pause here is something called artificial intelligence. I had mentioned that younger people spend a lot of their time online, and they post a lot of things, including videos that have their voice on them. If a scammer can get into their account and listen to their voice and capture 6 to 8 seconds of that person's voice, that grandchild's voice, they can make an entire conversation that sounds just like your grandchild, and you can't tell the difference. They may turn the phone over also to other people who they say are nearby. It could be a lawyer, doctor, police, and they will back up the story. And this is what we need. And they usually put these people on to say, we need bail money, or we need a lawyer's fee to engage a lawyer to help them out. And the grandchild implores, oh my gosh, don't tell mom and dad, they don't know I'm down here. Keep this a secret. They want to keep it secret. And the bottom line is they're always going to ask for money. And you know it's a scam, one, when they ask for money. And number two, they're going to ask you to wire the money, because that's as good as cash and can't be traced very well. Prepaid debit cards, Google Pay, cryptocurrency. Fax us a copy of the check so we can debit your account. Well, they can keep on debiting it too, because it's got your name, your address, your bank routing number, and your account number on it. They also ask you to send money via cash apps like Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. Those were designed to send money amongst friends and family. They were never designed to do this type of financial transaction. Getting you under the ether. That is their key. They want to get you in a heightened emotional state so that you get pressured into making a decision. And sometimes, again, if the call comes later at night, you don't consider why it's a scam. All you're concerned about is keeping your grandchild safe from harm. And they trust that we're not going to ask a whole bunch of questions. They're going to talk a lot and give us all kinds of information of things that we need to do. So that's how the scam works. So let's talk about some do's and some don'ts, some things that you should do. This is what you should do, as well as your grandchildren should do. They should go into these social media accounts and set privacy settings so that only the people they are friends with can actually see the information that they are posting, and not the entire world. And do hang up immediately and call the grandchild or a family member. Ignore what the scammer says about don't tell my parents. Say, give me your number, I'll call you back. I want to call to make sure my grandchild is actually safe, which will probably end in a hang up from their part. And the other thing you can do is create a family safe word. If you ever get a call from, quote, a relative in distress and wants you to do something, either provide money or some kind of personal information, before you move anywhere into the conversation, ask them, what's the family safe word? And if they don't know it, it's a scam. And like I said, contact other family members or friends if you have a concern that the emergency really could be real. I mean, there's a chance that something could really happen, and this really could be an emergency. So call them, say, I will hang on for a minute, and you either use a different phone or give me a phone number, I can call you back. And then call a family member to find out where John or Mary is. Another do here, if you speak with someone who claims to be a police officer, what you can do, call which police station are you calling from? Get information. Again, ask questions and say, let me call that police department and see if they know about this. And they will try to talk circles around you. Don't do that, because if you hang up, we may not be able to get back, and your grandchild's still going to be in trouble. If it's a legitimate one, and you can call the police station, that local police station, you can find out if this really is something that's happening. And do trust your instincts. Trust your gut. Because the American Bar Association advises if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And one piece of advice, no matter what the scam is, we always talk about stop, think, verify before making any decision or taking any action. Nothing is so important that it can't wait for a few minutes for you to clear your head, take a couple of breaths, verify, verify, verify. So those are the things you can do. Let's talk about some of the things you should not do. Don't drop your guard just because the caller ID says it's from, say, the local police department, or from a family member's phone number, or from the same area code that you're in. They can spoof any number they want. You've probably seen your own phone number come in on your caller ID. I've seen mine come in with 1-800-Medicare, and I know Medicare never calls. The IRS, you could see their phone number. They can spoof any number they want to make it look legitimate. And don't volunteer information. I mean, scammers are always looking to grab some kind of information from you, and they make whatever they're saying sound believable. Grandchildren call their grandparents by different names: grandpa, grandma, nana, papa. So if they're using the wrong name, that's a clear sign that it is just that, a scam. And don't let the caller rush you into making a decision. Say, I need to check with somebody first. Nothing is so important that it cannot wait a few minutes. And clear your head, stop and think, could this be a scam? A couple other don'ts. Don't send, like I said, don't send cash, wire money. Those are the keys that the whole thing is a scam. If they want you to send money, that's not the way a lawyer does business. That's not the way the police department does business. That's not the way a hospital does business. That's just not the way it's done. And scammers prefer to use these gift cards in particular because they're very difficult to trace, and they're pretty much like cash. Once it's gone, it's gone. And don't panic. Don't panic. No matter how dire the grandchild's predicament sounds, this scam artist wants you to get upset and get distracted and not be able to spot what the scam that's going on. This is something a little different too. This is a new twist on the grandparent scheme, and it's usually dealt with weather-related incidences. For instance, it occurs when the arrival of a natural disaster. We've had a number of close calls here in New England with hurricanes, but parts of the country are frequented by hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, and those types of things. And if there's a lot of retirees in these areas, Florida in particular, that's a great place to target. So a younger relative you may get something out on social media that a quote younger family relative puts out, saying that a loved one is missing, and we haven't been able to contact them, but we want to send them money for a hotel and for other assistance. And the details about the disappearance are circulated with the goal of reaching as many people as they can. That's why they use social media. So they try to get this message out and say, so-and-so's in big trouble, we need to send them money. And then the scam starts about asking to send money to a certain place or send gift cards and those types of things. And they have a lot of information to try to persuade you that their loved one is that one, that's a missing person that's out there in great need of help. Again, they get a lot of this information on social media. This is kind of a new twist on things. We have a quick video here, and they're going to interview, the interviewer is going to talk to Amy Knopfsinger, who is the director of AARP Victim Support. And she's going to describe a new twist on how they want money delivered sometimes.
Your Place, Your Money, brought to you by Road Credit Union and AARP.
Welcome to Your Place, Your Money, joined today by Kathy Stokes, the Director of Fraud Prevention Programs at AARP in Washington. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
So we're talking today about the grandparent scam. It's one people are probably familiar with, but there's a new twist that's going on right now that's becoming more popular. What do people need to know?
Well, the traditional grandparent scam involves somebody contacting you, pretending to be a grandchild of yours or someone representing your grandchild that's in a whole lot of trouble. It could be, they're in a jail in Mexico. It could be that they were in a terrible car accident, they've hurt somebody very badly, and now they're in jail and they need bail money to get out and deal with it. And there's always a plea, Grandma, please don't tell Mom and Dad they'd kill me. But what I need for you is to send me money right away. And the easiest way to do that is to wire transfer the money or to go down to the store and buy a gift card and read the number off the back. That's the typical way that it goes.
Okay, and so what do people need to be watching out for with this scam?
Yeah, so the new twist is that scammers are actually sending people to your door to pick up the cash that the alleged grandchild needs, which I think is a really scary turn of events. When you are at a long length, let's say, from the person that's perpetrating this criminal, right, who's perpetrating a scam, and you're sending them money, they're probably far, far away from you. This puts that scammer in your neighborhood. So I think that that's a pretty scary twist of events.
What do you recommend when people are the victims of this scam? Should they be calling police immediately? Should they be reporting it to AARP? What do you recommend?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm a really big proponent of not ever answering my door unless I'm expecting somebody to come. And so you should just, use that as your general rule. Don't open the door to strangers. But it also, I think if you do find that you have been victimized by a scam, it's absolutely important to file a police report. Now, you may find that the police officer says, well, you willingly gave this money. It's a civil matter. The police officer is mistaken. So push hard. It is a crime, and they should at least file the report for you. And then you can report it to the Federal Trade Commission and other places. Even better, call the Fraud Watch Network helpline at AARP, and we can walk you through what you need to do. And that number is 877-908-3360.
Kathy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, I said it was Amy Knopfsinger. It's actually Kathy Stokes. And she provided some valuable information there. A great recap of what we talked about a little bit earlier. And so, again, some of the red flags, it's important, I think, to reiterate these. Urgency, that you must do it now. This goes for all scams, and that's not just a grandparent scam. Don't tell anybody, and send money via a number of these different methods here. As Kathy said, here is the Fraud Watch helpline. It's operated from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. When you call, they're going to triage the call, and based on if you have been victimized, and specifically if you've lost money, they're going to take some information down, and somebody will call you within 24 hours and help you walk through what you should do next to stay safe. Oftentimes people say, well, I get my money back. Hard to say. Generally speaking, no, but there are some very concrete steps you should take to keep yourself safe moving forward. Now, the Fraud Watch helpline is free to everybody. You can report a scam, as I just mentioned, or you can get help figuring out whether something is really legitimate. They get tons of calls, and they keep track of the kinds of scams that are being reported and perpetrated out there, and they can answer your questions. There's a couple sites here also. The FBI Internet Crime Complaint is another place that you can report a crime, and this slide here will be available on the same website that this webinar is being broadcast on. And when you get this slide, you'll be able to click on both of those links and get to both those places to either file a complaint or watch out for scammers when job hunting. That's another thing that we have as part of the part of this program is job hunting scams that are out there. So that's what I mentioned at the very beginning. That's one of the other webinars that we provide. Something that you should think about is signing up for fraud watch alerts. These fraud watch alerts come out every other week. They're short. You can either receive them via text by texting FWN to 50757, or you can go on to the Fraud Watch Network site on the AARP's Fraud Watch Network and get them sent via email there. And it talks about how the scam works, what you should know, and what you should do. There's also on the Fraud Watch Network something called The Perfect Scam. These are podcasts, and there's over 100 of them out there. And they talk to people who have been scammed. They talked about to people who are experts in the field. They talk to law enforcement, and they describe how the scam took place, and again, what you can do to keep yourself safe moving forward. These fraud watch alerts are a great way, getting them every other week, to keep in the forefront of your mind that fraud is always out there. It is not going away. And they usually focus on a fraud relative to something that is just surfacing, or something that is happening relative to, say, the holidays. For instance, as we get closer to Veterans Day, or sometimes Memorial Day, they'll send out some things on the veteran scams, some shopping scams as we get close to the shopping season. So they're always putting out every other week a different information on a different scam. And this is the Fraud Watch Network homepage. The picture changes every now and again, but on this page here, to the right of the picture, you can see that you can sign up for a bi-weekly Fraud Watch alert. There's the Fraud Watch Network helpline number. And again, that where it says aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork, that's a link. And these slides will be out there for you to be able to click on those and get to that site. On this also, there is a scam map. You can click on the scam map, and you can type in your own zip code, and you can find out the kinds of scams that are being reported in your community. There's the link to the Perfect Scam podcasts. And as Kathy Stokes says, if you've been victimized, it's important to report it. Report it to the Fraud Watch Network, and especially if you've lost money, to report it to the police department. And like she said, sometimes they're going to be reluctant to take it. Force the issue and make them take a police report, especially if there's money lost, because if you're going to try to get the money back, they're going to ask you right off, have you filed a police report? Something that we offer also in Massachusetts is something called Fraud Talk Tuesdays. They occur the second Tuesday of every month from 12 to 12:30. We talk about a specific scam and provide you information. And if you go to aarp.org/MA and then click on events, you can register for those webinars there.